Hello and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. You join me on another workshop with Pascal, and this evening he shall be continuing work on the Icarian Harpy from Into the Unknown's Aeon Trespass. If you are brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the latest miniature painting and tabletop gaming videos. Also, don't miss the live Twitch channel weeknights Monday to Thursday from 7 o'clock BST. Click the link below. And now, on with the show. Is that how you're starting it, Pascal? All right. Okay, so let's bring you in live. Yep, and he's live. He's on the channel.
Hi, you guys. Yeah, you can clip that.
Clip that bit out, yeah.
Right. Hello, good evening. How you all doing? Well, here he is. You see the head is still extremely white. Can you see it?
Yeah, oh yes, yes.
It's a bit overlight. But I'll be finishing the feathers today. So I'm going to do a grayscale and trying to get some sense of where light and shadow should be. Before I start adding in some glazes in there to get some color into the dark wings. I'm meaning to do black raven-like wings, but if you remember the black leather I did on the necromancer bust, there were a lot of blue tones in that, and today I'm going to incorporate a lot of browns and reds in there. What I'm trying to do is, let's take a single feather. Let's take this one. There's gonna come light from the top, so there's gonna be some light over here. It's all wet now, so you can see it good, right?
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a light part, but this is a shaded part, but I'm gonna do some light in there as well. I hope.
Okay.
A good thing to do with this texture, because the feathers have a really nice feather texture in this. This is a really good sculpt in that order. I could do this with a lot of dry brushing, but I'm afraid that if I would do it like that, then it would be a organic whole instead of being able to pick out each and every individual feather. So this is why it's going to be a lot of work today. I've got some Vallejo black over here, which is a bit glossier than the scale 75 color, and I've got some scale 75 white here. So the madness of the scale 75 white here is gonna counteract the glossiness of this black. But I'm paramount to using this black because it's much darker in blackness than the scale 75 would achieve. But as we progress more and more towards the light, it should be matter and matter. Okay, guys, class is in session. Let's start. And what I'm going to do is first start with a basic gray. And I'm probably making way too little here. First of all, I'm going to do pick out some highlighted spots. And there's a lot of shades underneath that armpit, but this part is going to get a lot of light. And as we progress much more downward, we're going to see more.
So that's just looking at the chat here. Multi-award-winning painter Super Sarah says that you are doing a gorgeous job on this figure.
See how that tentacle, how the light is hitting it and how it gives volume, and then how it moves under these wings just by having the brightest part of these feathers, this single coat of gray, having it like this, and there's a lot of black still there and there's a lot of black still there, and how it just seems as if there's this movement still.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So if I can accentuate it later on with some more lights, then it's going to be, hopefully it's going to really accentuate that movement of the tentacle. So I've done this part, so this is obviously a key view of the model to have it like this. But when I turn it around, the light's gonna hit it differently. And so this is a tricky part, to have the light still be believable. But as soon as you turn it like this, then you have to have a money shot as well. So this is an in-between shot. It has to be correct, or should seem correct, but it's going to be totally different. The troublesome part about this is that at a certain point you can become, let's say, feather blind. In this case, so you're working on small scale, on small parts that are so numerous that you, at a certain point, are going to be blind to what the effect is going to be in the entire model. So you're just doing this and doing this, and then you think, oh wow, this is way too light, or this is way too dark, or I've gone too far, I've not gone too far enough. So it's good to periodically take the distance, have a look, turn it around, is it still working, etc. Okay, sphere theory, this is a fun one. Even though all these feathers are going to be like taken apart. This is the 3 levels of where you see spheres. Take one feather, break it apart into 2 halves, see where each half is inclining or declining or making that sphere, and think about how light it works on it. So this part is going to have the light like this, and this part is going to have the light like that. So that's 1. Then 2, see the feather as a whole. So is it still working? If it's a whole sphere, is it true that there is the most light, and even if the light is going in another direction on the other part, it should be less light than the other part? Things like that, right?
Right.
And then you got the entire set, or like this part. There's the 3rd level. Is it true that there is much more light in here than it would be in there, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
So always keep these 3 levels in mind when you're thinking about spheres and when you're doing lights. Yeah, especially that last level, and this is true with this, like I just said, the feather blindness. At a certain point, you're making these feathers just as bright as these feathers, and then, oh, you see, this should be much brighter than this, and I've done it all in one scale, in one grayscale. And then you've got to do some extra work to rectify that. So I'm going to add another layer of brightness. Just going to add it in the palette. Not going to make it a different well or something. Just adding it on here, so I can instantly draw from here. I see that it's already gonna get a lot brighter. Right, and we're gonna go all over again.
Right.
There's a sense of zen when you're doing things like this. When it gets a bit tedious and one-sided and etc. But at a certain point, you just get into a flow and totally forget about everything about the world around you. That's a good feeling. The thing is, it's always starting to look like almost white. If you see on my palette, hope you can see it, it's still a long way off from white. That's what contrast does. Set against that dark black backdrop. Where I could, in the very first layer, the darkest gray that I did, I could easily, instead of painting that texture already in, I could just easily blotch it full into color. And as farther as I'm going up to the lighter colors, you can see me doing those textured strokes like this, much more deliberate as singular strokes with a bit of space in between, so you can really see that texture popping out. Cool thing with if you've got a bigger feather here and there like this, you've got your light spot over here. The cool thing to do is like this one. Make one stroke just out of sequence, creating that real feel of these notches into the feathers. Not perfectly nice and even. You're gonna create some design chaos. I've switched over to pure white. This is just a scale 75 white, and I keep repeating myself here, but I'm not too scared about it to being too bright, because scale 75 white is a bit more matte than a lot of other whites, so it's gonna dull down a bit. Still, like I said in previous phase, gonna be very picky where to put the brightest whites. And also, like I said, I'm not afraid to go too bright, because I'm going to do some glazes later on. All right. Can you see how there's much more light in here than it's going?
Yeah.
Than it's down there. I'm going to get some Vallejo white, because now I want to have some really white. And this is just me taking into account that it's going to dull down a bit later. I'm going to get really brightness that I know it's going to be some levels lower later on. In a lot of ways, this looks a lot like doing non-metallic metal, actually. The use of color and how it blends in each other. I'm using grays right now. I can do this. Usually I just blend in like a bit of a flesh color in there just to make it a bit warmer. But in truth, I'm just looking at how does the light glint off of this surface. And this is what I'm trying to paint on. I can easily think of this part as a bit of metal with a structure in it.
Yeah.
There you go. Sometimes it gets a little bit blotchy, in almost sketchy, like, you know, this is not really perfectly blended and painted, but sometimes the texture really allows for techniques like these, especially feathers. Could be a bit rough, not too tight, not too nice. So just go with it and enjoy it like a proper Bob Ross. All right, so that's probably phase one done. I'm going to get some glazes in there, and I'm just going to use some ordinary colors. This is one of my favorite browns. Model Air Armor Brown. There you go. This is, since it's an air color, it's actually much more suited. Well, it's really thin already. All right, so I've thinned it down really thin. Look at this.
Oh,
this
yes.
is what I want.
Yeah.
Now this bright part, I want to keep it that bright. I might even add some yellows in there later on. Okay. But I'm gonna concentrate my browns into the shade, more shaded parts. I can do this. Give it a good shake. This is black red, and I hope to get some bit of more red into that color. I'm not going to try to do this like I just did before everywhere, really picking it out to see. This is what I try to do. I just like to see, have the real light bounce off and squint through my eyes and just try to see where does this color fit. And it fits in the darkest places. So as soon as there's more light up here, I'm gonna leave it like that. But the red's all gonna go up there. The thing is, it's not the gray tones it's coloring right now, or what I want to have it colored. It's actually the blacks that I want to have it colored. Red is always a good color to have a contrast into your blacks. It's a good. It's something to do with contrast. If you're going to look at something in real life and you look at the shades, there is the contrast color of that in the shade. It's dark, but if you would have that dropper thing from Paint, you know, the program, and you could pick out that real color in reality, you would see the contrasting color in there. And for black, at some point, at a base level, it would be red most of the time.
Right.
Not solely, but most of the time. And this is because black in real life is actually very dark blue most of the time.
Yeah.
So this is as far as I want to go with the glazing. As you see, a lot of the contrast is dimming down. A lot of the brightness and the bright spots have gone. So for some parts that I really want to focus attention on, I've got to bring it back. Also, here and there, the blacks have lost a bit of their bluster as well, but a bit of the darkness. So I might need to do some extra pure blackness to have all these parts come loose from each other. I'm gonna mix a bit of whites, different whites, to the scale 75 white and the layer white. And there's just got a little bit of gray actually. I think it may be smudged a bit because of one of those grays in here. But it's okay. You know what? No, I'm gonna leave it like that. I was thinking of doing a bit of yellow in there. I can do that like this. Tiniest drop of brown. This is really the tiniest drop of brown. Actually, you would hardly ever see. There we go. The difference between just gray and this brown. You're hardly seeing it on screen. But it really ties in nicely if I incorporate a bit of a brown, or I could even do like a yellow or something like bleach bone. Everybody knows that color, right?
Yeah.
So if I would have add that into my white, it would be a bit more yellow. But I think I can manage with this. Well, I think that's about it. What do you think, guys? This is the feathers part.
That's looking great.
Got a bit of a color in it, but still looking blackish. Got some highlights, got some shades, got some shape, got some definition. But like I said, I could do a bit of extra defining with the pure black. Now we're talking about it. This is the cool. Yeah, like now it seems like there's a dip in here.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually not. So this is what I was trying to recreate a moment ago. And now it becomes a feather. Like I said, before it would have, could easily be some kind of non-metallic metal. But now I've done this. Totally identifies as feather.
Yeah.
This is a nice question for the chat. This is something I would like to know. When I do my workshops, I do talk a lot about motivation, about how to have your mindset on the right track, etc. like that. But actually, I'm not even sure that's something that people are looking to hear about when they're trying to learn about painting. Well, I think it's something that's really important to take into account beforehand, before you start to learn to paint. Is it something that you are interested in hearing during a workshop? What's your take on it, guys?
There we go. Everyone, feedback in the chat, please.
Yeah.
Of course, we're always looking for feedback. Your comments are very much appreciated. Just means we can make these workshops and everything else as good as we possibly can. So Chris is saying straight away, I think so. Painting is more than just paint.
Right on, brother. The reason I started talking about motivation years ago, that I found that a lot of people, a lot of starters, were actually scared of starting to paint because of various reasons, because it's so much, or they see other people doing fantastic work and it's demotivating them and stuff like that. And so this is why I thought, well, maybe if you get people's head right on the right way in the game, they're less inclined to drop out, so to say, on a later stage when they hit difficulties. So everybody's gonna end up with difficulties. Everybody's gonna hit that point that they say, this is too difficult, I'm not gonna be able to pull it off right now. But as soon as you're able to say, I'm not gonna pull it off right now, you're inadvertently saying, I'm gonna be able to in a later stage. But if you're not looking, if you're not thinking like that, you're gonna drop out.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Useless Wizard has commented saying, I like to know what's going on in the painter's mind. I like to hear the thought process of the painter. It helps me understand why they're doing something.
Cool.
May saying, painting or mini painting is mostly sharing than just painting or skill. So yes, the sort of passing of ideas and I guess again the thinking process is a large part. And Chris is saying it's great that there are people who want to share their painting knowledge with others.
Cool, guys. Really cool. So, Useless Wizard, am I doing right by you then? Am I sharing enough of my mind?
Useless Wizard is saying the explanation of why you put the red in the shadows of the feather was exactly what I was talking about. So there we go.
Cool. So, how much? What time is it? Oh, we've got some time left. Let's do the. I almost wanted to say the helmet, but it's the beaky. I want to do a really bright yellow that's going to be a bit of orangey in the deeper tones, but not bright orange. I'm going to start off with this color. This is Crofus Brown, game color. There is a lot of yellow in here, but it's also a bit of brown in there, which makes it a bit matte. It's going to make it a bit more desaturated. This is a good basing starting color for yellow. And this is contrast as well. This is the contrast between saturated colors and desaturated colors, because actually everything down here is really desaturated.
That is a lovely orange yellow, isn't it? Yes, nice and deep. It's a egg yolk.
Egg yolk. Oh, that's awesome. What I can do is already fill in the eye. This eye has been staring at me the entire time of the project. And you know what kind of how freakishly I think the model is. So this eye staring at me is the stuff of nightmares. Right. So now I'm going to get some red, pure red. There we go. Just a tiny bit. I'm going to mix it into the yellow to get a nice orange. Since the yellow is still very muted muted yellow, this orange is going to be muted orange as well. I'm going to use this orange to do some shading. I think you can instantly see the effect already.
So are you making the previous yellow act as the highlight now?
Almost. I'm going to do a highlight later on. But you see how it's turning up brighter just because I'm doing a shade. And this is the trick with the yellow. Don't try to make it more yellow, just make the shades darker. But with the right color. This is really essential that you use the right colors. I could do this with brown instead of red as well, to get a different kind of tone into it. This could be all shadow. This could be all shadow. There we go. This side. Right?
Yeah.
Now to get in some, to make sure, because it's a face, and in the face I really want to have some light way in the front of the face instead of in the back. So I'm gonna step off of my spheres theory a bit. I'm gonna pull up the shades a bit more towards here. And this is dramatic purpose. There we go. So now there's much more light in here, even if I turn it. Alright, so this is the first step. Then go even further, and for this I'm going to take this dark red that we used earlier, really just a tiny bit. You can see how it already turns it much darker. In this case I chose something that's much more closer to brown than red, because I want to have the color darken, but not be much more fiery. What's a good word? Ooh, that's nice. I love it when you do that kind of line that you need to have perfectly, and then you nail. Not gonna do that probably the second time. Probably fail. We've got a much brighter yellow here. This is sun yellow. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
I could even probably go much brighter, but we'll see. I just mixed up a batch of the previous yellow with just a hint of the base color yellow, because that's got a really toned down here, and with a lot of white. And this is actually just a glint of things. So it's those lines that need they're really bright.
Right then, sir. Well, thank you once again for your time this evening. The Icarian Harpy is looking amazing.
You'll be seeing the finished pictures soon enough. I'll promise you that.
All right, great stuff. So until next time, then. Bye for now.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.
So there we go then. That is the end of our workshop this evening. Let's see who we need to thank. So thank you to Danny Long Valley for following, and of course to Paranoid Spectre for his 14th month resub, which is awesome news. Of course, Paranoid will be part of the September giveaway that's happening on September 26th. He is in for a chance to win the copy of Conquest core game from Parabellum Wargames. But until then, bye for now.